AG is back, but he's on mute. So I'm going to say welcome to the Green Bay On My Block podcast, Green Bay Packers podcast. I'm your host, Mike Well, with Amon Green, the great Amon Green. You're back. What's up, brother?
I'm still muted?
No, you're good now.
Oh, okay.
So what this, so what it does for people out there, we are, he's actually much more technically inclined than I am. However, on this what's a StreamYard, when you go to the branding beginning, it puts you on mute so you don't chew your food during the thing. But with that said, take it from there, my man. I know you're really interested in this Bet Online read that we have today.
Yeah, go right. I got it. Bet Online remains your number one source for all your college basketball betting this season because it is March Madness, Mike. Some upsets already. Brackets are destroyed. I've talked to a few students of mine already. They're like, Coach, it looks bad. So get your analysis on every play, prop, and point at Bet Online. You'll find the latest odds, bracket contests, team matchups, and game trends at Bet Online. Updated odds for everything from live games, the conference championships, right through the Final Four and the championship game coming up here in a few weeks. So Bet Online is your college basketball headquarters this season. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to sign up and receive the 50% welcome bonus for your first deposit. Be sure to use the promo code BLEAV, BELIEVE, to receive your bonus. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts, Mike. So
AG, is there a game? I'm not gonna lie to you. I've like if it's on in the background, I'll kind of go, oh, that's cool. But I don't watch NCAA basketball. It used to be my number one thing to watch.
Yeah.
And I just don't watch it anymore. But I do know that Gonzaga is playing UCLA. And I'm a West Coast guy, and that just sounds like a killer matchup. So I'm gonna watch that game. But is there any other games that we're sitting here going, man, I can't wait to see that one?
I say I've been traveling so much. I'll be honest, I've been out of touch with like who. I saw upsets. I know I saw some upsets just kind of sitting watching the TV.
Well, I don't think there's any blue bloods. I think whatever they call it, the Kansas, the Dukes, North Carolina, they're not in there anymore. It's the first time in a long time.
Wow. I didn't know. I just knew that it was a few big upsets early in the first round, which is always that's about all my knowledge right now because I've been doing the esports tournament thing. It was a world championship of a league that I'm a part of. It's called the United In Gamers League, the UEL, out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Did that this past weekend. So
cool.
It basically, we coined it as the MMA of esports. So just think about that for a minute.
All right.
Let that hit you. I would think you did. I would think you would.
That. So what game is like? You gotta just break it down real quick. How many games? Like what's the
UEL? Scenario? It's a league. It's a free league for players, so they join in, but they win money. It's 33 games, 5 different genres. It's shooter games, sports games, strategy games, fighting games, and what was the last one? Fighting games, sports games. I know I said 4. I know it's 5.
Shooting, sports, strategy, fighting,
and
race cars,
racing.
Hell yeah, there's race cars.
So it's F1 racing. Yeah, F1 racing, which is full, almost true to life simulation. Moto GP, which is a motorcycle, the ones where they really
Road America, man. Yep. Road America, Wisconsin. Let's go.
And then you got some of the cartoon games like CTR, which is Crash Bandicoot. And then you have a couple other games. Then you have the old Street Fighter. You got Mortal Kombat for the fight.
So wait, hold on. Stop the presses. Are you telling me that I can go play old Street Fighter, who I was?
No, not old Street Fighter. It's the new stuff.
Because I was middle school champion.
Yeah, no, it's not the old stuff. We might do that for fun one year, one season. But right now it's the newer one. So Street Fighter 5 right now, and then Street Fighter 6 comes out in June.
Dude, did you kind of have a thing for Chun-Li?
Hey, yeah, she was put together.
I mean,
she was put together.
She was. It's funny. Like, I think my first crush. It'll get a little weird here, but I think my first crush when I was like 5 or 6 was Daphne from Scooby Doo.
Hey,
cartoon Daphne.
I was there. Yep.
Right. And then I remember Street Fighter came out, and I remember thinking like that Chun-Li, man, there's something going on there. Like I don't know, all those they're putting those bits together the right way. Like it was nuts. I'm like 12. I'm like, man, there's something like this.
Yeah, they got them.
I really like this game.
Got her in shape. They got her in shape.
I like this game a lot, but
yeah.
Listen, we got some stuff to talk about. You and I haven't been on the air for a while, but
I know
there's just a hot garbage mess going on at 1265 Lombardi right now.
Yes.
And here, so the Aaron Rodgers deal, the thing that's crazy is like,
which is ain't even done yet.
Yeah, it's not even so it's not even done yet. And we can talk about leverage and this and that. And I think it's an interesting conversation because people are making a big deal out of this.
Yes.
And, but if you have to think rationally about the leverage factor. So we can talk about that for a minute. But what I wanted to start with is it's like because it's all consuming. He goes into the darkness. He comes back out. Pat McAfee show, Pat, this and that, and everyone. Adam Schefter's, telling stories about him again. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
The NFC North is getting better. The NFC, the Lions, the Bears, the Vikings. Teams are getting better. I want to read you off some key acquisitions for each team. The Lions are like. They're no joke, fresh off of whatever they were 7-8 or just the playoffs beat us. The Detroit Lions brought in in my opinion, one of the premier free agents for a 1-year deal, $8.5 million, Daryl Gardner-Johnson. Okay, from the Philadelphia Eagles.
The safety. Yep.
They bring in Gardner-Johnson. They bring in a cornerback, Cam Sutton. They bring in David Montgomery from Chicago. Okay, so they were already
the running back. I didn't know.
Running back. Oh yeah. What? Yeah, they
bought that life right now.
Yeah, they've got all their line returning. Like they're not losing a lot of guys. Okay, young team. The only cat they got rid of really is Jamal Williams. I mean, if you think about guys who the guys they're going to maybe miss, Jamal Williams because for locker room presence, great on the field last year, production and especially in the red zone. But they're a much better team on paper today than they were last year, and they got another year with Dan and his crew. Obviously, they're going to go as far as Jared Goff takes him. He took him pretty far last year. Ben Johnson decided to stay as an offensive coordinator instead of taking another job particularly with Carolina, who we could talk about forever because they're having the best offseason of anybody.
Yeah.
However, but Detroit, who was arguably better than Green Bay going into the offseason based on the last game, is now definitively better than Green Bay now. And Green Bay here's who's Green Bay's gotten so far. You ready? I'm gonna knock your socks off for this. We tendered Josh with a second round tender, whatever that means.
Yeah.
We re-signed Keyshawn Nixon. Thank goodness we re-signed Keyshawn Nixon because now we have that component. And maybe that means he goes and tries to play that slot. We don't know.
Best thing they did all offseason. Yep.
They've re-signed Tyler Davis. I honestly, Tyler's an NFL player, but I don't know what impact is he going to have in the tight end position. He better not have a huge impact unless he gets demonstrably better because that means they brought in somebody else. Okay.
Correct.
Here's who they signed. And I'm not these are NFL players, but I just listed blue chip players that the Lions brought in. We brought in Tavarius Moore and for safety special teams.
Yep.
Okay. So he'll contribute.
Yep.
And we brought in a long snapper.
Yep.
Matt Orzich.
From the Rams. From the Rams.
Oh, and I forgot. We are most likely going to be without the services of the 4-time MVP, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Of course.
And Packers fans are acting like everywhere from woe is me to we're not getting enough to we need to So I want to get into the Vikings and the Bears too, but let's just talk about this, AG. So what is your perspective? Aaron Rodgers goes on Pat McAfee show.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm going to tell you what's already happened. Right. And I've already made this decision. I think I should be playing football. And whether or not you believe, the Packers were wanting him gone. Look, it's obvious that him and Goody aren't best of friends. I think that's been well documented.
Obviously. Yeah.
It's been well documented. And honestly, fair enough. Who are we to judge? It doesn't, who's right or who's wrong.
Correct.
Listen, Aaron's got, in this day and age, Aaron's got every right to demand whatever the hell he wants at any time. And they have every right to tell him yes or no. That's that's how this game works, right? Yep. If I do it, they're going to say no. If you do it in your prime, maybe they say yes, maybe they say no. If Brett does it, they probably say, you start going like this happens. This is the circle of life, man. We could just, we can go pop on the Lion King, see the same thing, right?
Exactly.
But
you're right.
Now we're starting to talk about what is getting held up here, because at first it was like the Jets and Packers have a deal and it's waiting on Aaron. Now, as it turns out, no, they don't have a deal and they might not even be close because the Packers are asking for a first round plus more for a guy going to the Jets at 39 who may or may not play more than 1 year. What is your take on the deal? What do you think? Do you think who has leverage? What should we be expecting as Packer fans?
I say the place that has leverage. Oh, I say when I first hear it, I want to say the Packers. So Goody has the leverage because of what you just said: age, in terms of Aaron, but we know the drive is still there, but we don't know what the production is going to be coming in to this new team. And if it gets down, so that I'll start with that. And then, from the Jets' point of view is how much you want to give up, because you already went all in, basically. You already put
by saying this is what we want.
This is what we want. And we got one guy already. We got Allen Lazard on the roster now, signed him. And we're potentially going to bring in Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis, a few other people, maybe David Bakatari, maybe, we don't know. But they already basically like in Vegas, put their cards out, say, here we go. We're putting it out. We're all in. And there's no surprise for me knowing Robert Saleh, the way he is built mentally. No surprise that he did it that way. Maybe more him than, obviously him talking to the GM to make that okay and make this work, because coaches can say that. Hey,
Joe Douglas.
Yes. So we need this to happen. So, because I want this guy. And so they went in all in there. So now for the faithful, for the Packer fan base, I've been saying this since it went down, for people having face-to-face, seeing me walking around, I'm like, this is the business. Just like you mentioned, this is nothing out of the ordinary for any player, even of stature, as Aaron, as Brett, that played at this team for the years they did. And, this is how it goes down, unfortunately. And what started, you go back to looking at just recently in the last, I'll say, 7 years, Jordy Nelson. How did they do? He was about to be the all-time leading receiver for the Green Bay Packers. And what happened? They cut him. And obviously at that time that was Aaron's number one guy. And they cut him without notifying Aaron, which we've seen that happen before. Or we've seen things happen. The other teams cut a receiver, but they're letting the quarterback know. Like,
let me interject right there, because you just brought up a really interesting point. So the last time we had to go through this last year, I think.
Yeah.
One of the things Aaron said was in a very public press conference that he was not appreciative of how we released some players that he felt were core players of this team. Maybe they were friends of him, but regardless, they were
leaders in the locker room.
They were leaders in the locker room. Jordy Nelson was brought up, obviously, amongst other guys, right?
Yep.
When you say this is business, it is at a certain age or performance. I think the hard part here for everybody is we don't know. With Tom Brady playing until he was 45.
Correct.
With Aaron Rodgers looking like he did the last 14 years, and even last year, let's just be honest, it's not like Aaron Rodgers' arm went away. It's not like Aaron Rodgers' inability, like all of a sudden he can't run. Like nothing physically deteriorated. They just didn't play as well.
They just didn't click. The synergy wasn't there.
And so we can, and for me, we can point to a number of different things. Maybe most notably the fact that, listening to his press conference, name the people that he didn't thank in the Green Bay. Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst, Mark. Maybe he brought up Murphy, but he definitely didn't bring up LaFleur or Goody.
No, I know. No, he didn't bring up Mark Murphy.
So we go 13-3 a couple years in a row. They have this down year. He's complaining about a lot of things. And mutually, maybe it's time to go. But now that Green Bay, because to me, like, I don't know, AG, I look at it the other way. Like, Green Bay lost their leverage when they drafted Jordan Love a couple years ago.
I said first off, like, just hearing it first, but then as I more time to think about it.
Go ahead.
There you go. I would say that because making that move in that was 2020, correct? When they drafted Jordan Love?
Maybe 2019.
2019.
This is the fourth year.
And so it was LaFleur's pick. And so that right there paints a picture and puts a cloud over, or just puts a flag up to Aaron, like, okay, I see what's going on now. And so it puts any player on Front Street. I know myself, I put in my years in Green Bay and a couple Pro Bowl years, and then they draft, not even, I say one Pro Bowl year in, and Tony Fisher and Najee are drafted in the same draft. But I'm built different mentally. Like, I already knew this is part of the game. This is business. You know what? I'm going to take these guys under my wing. So if I'm out, then I know they could go in and be, the best they can be to replace me on the, on the ball. I'm different. I was built different mentally, more of a.
Well, it's the quarterback thing, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like linemen are the same way. Linemen are kind of basically like, if you're better than me, you can play. I just don't think you can be better than me. So we're not really worried about giving up information or secrets. Like, it's always, in order to take my position, you're going to have to work harder than me. And it's going to be really hard to do.
Exactly.
So if you're willing to do it, go for it.
Exactly.
It's different. It's different.
Yep.
Because it's a franchise. It's the position, right? It's the position.
Yeah, it's the one everybody knows and loves. It's this, as they say, sexy. It's the sexy position out there that every kid wants to be when they're growing up. So
you think about Green Bay. So you just go back. You drafted this guy. That was a mistake. You made a mistake because you had a team that could fight for NFC championships, Super Bowl championships. Like, you had talent, and you decided to waste a first-round pick on a player that wasn't going to play for at least 3 seasons. And you didn't know that at the time, okay? But obviously there was miscommunication. That's why Aaron's been so, cranky about what's currently happening.
All right.
My thing is this, because right now, like, I would if I was the Jets, I would never give up a 13th pick in the draft for a guy who might only play one more season, even if you think you're one player away, which they might be, like Breece Hall's coming back. Garrett Wilson's rookie of the year. Their offensive line's all coming back as far as getting off IR. They have a great defense. Like, they have pieces in place where you go, they're in the AFC East. Dude, that division went from 0 to hero real fast. The Patriots are the worst team in the East. That's crazy. Okay. Yes. They're in the AFC. They got to play Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes to get to the Super Bowl. They got to play Justin Herbert to get to the Super Bowl. Like, these are real things that are going to happen this year. So it's not this foregone conclusion that you're the 13th pick away from being a Super Bowl champion. And you don't know if this guy's going to play more than 1 year or 2 years. Could be, could he get injured? But all these things, right? All these questions.
Which has happened here.
And according to the Packers, he had a down year. Otherwise, they wouldn't be willing to trade him in the first place.
Exactly.
Now, Green Bay, to me, I look at this and I go, if Aaron Rodgers comes out and goes, because Green Bay owes him $50 or $60 million, right?
Yes.
I mean, one way or another, it's not until the first week of the season, but one way or another, they're going to have to pay him that money. We don't have an owner that, like Woody Johnson, that's willing to just fork over $60 million, right? This is a publicly owned company. They're not just going to be able to sit here and go, you know what? It's already on the books. Let's just go ahead and pay a guy for not playing $60 million. That doesn't make any financial sense. Doesn't make any sense in the locker room. None of that. The other thing that's killing them is I just listed off what the Lions have done this year. They haven't done the Packers have done nothing. They signed a long snapper.
No,
you have to get the bus going, man.
A safety / linebacker.
Yeah, safety special teams guy. So Aaron could sit here and go, you know what? If you don't make this trade happen, I'm just going to sit on my hands. I'm not going to trade to anybody else. You're gonna have to either play me, which you don't want to do now. You've made that choice, and I've made that choice for you. In the media, and you're not in all of Jordan Love's faults, and knowing that I'm the first. Can you imagine Aaron Rodgers sitting in the locker room and Jordan Love playing? I mean, can you imagine what that would look like for this team?
It would be the most interesting thing I've seen in a long time.
Oh, it'd be fun drama. Pat McAfee show would get crazy ratings. But as far as production, as far as what's going to happen in that locker room, dude, they would crash and burn. They don't have the leadership in place for that to happen. I'm talking about at the personnel side.
Yes.
So for me, like the Jets, while they have to come to some agreement, and maybe it's based on a compensatory pick if Aaron plays 2 years or 3 years, like first round pick in 2024, 2025. But man, we need to come to a conclusion here pretty soon, because like the train's moving in the NFC North. You got to get better here. This team is no better than it was before.
No. And everybody else is upgrading. But the Packers have done traditionally what they've done. Not a lot of movement in free agency. Restructured 2 guys that were already on the roster, but one guy we know badly needed to keep him in Nixon. Mm-hmm. So nothing is basically up to par for there, which you would think it would be lessons learned from the, not big lessons, but just some more experience learned. Like, you know what, back in the day, we weren't doing a whole lot of free agency, but let's do some splash signings, something, D linemen, all linemen that they need. Because they need those.
We're Reggie White. I mean, this is the place that brought in Reggie White to win a Super Bowl.
Exactly, and that was Ron Wolf, a guy who knew football. Not saying Gutekunst does it, but he just knows it a different way. So,
Chicago re-signs their fullback, which I love.
Yeah,
brings in Nate Davis from Tennessee, good guard. So massive upgrade from what they had last year.
Mm-hmm.
Brings in DeMarcus Walker from Tennessee. Again, he's an underrated. Like he'll have a good career with I watch him a lot. He's a good player. Not great stats, but he's a guy that you can just plug and play for every he's a 4-down player. They pay a lot for Tremaine Edwards, so they get rid of Roquan Smith, get the picks.
Yeah, he goes to Ravens.
Send to Baltimore. But then they pick up Tremaine Edwards for not quite as much money, and Roquan was going to break the bank. He's got we'll talk about agent, no agent, but he works with the same guys as some of these other guys with no agents work with.
Yeah.
And so he got paid. They brought in TJ Edwards from Philly. He's a good linebacker. They brought in Tunyon. And, oh, by the way, they traded the first pick. First-round pick. They get 9th overall now. 2023 second-round pick. 2024 first-round pick. 2025 second-round pick. Brought in DJ Moore. And Carolina gets the first pick overall to pick up a quarterback.
Yeah,
Bryce
I saw
Young,
that.
CJ Stroud. Like, dude, that is a freaking haul.
And that is what I was saying about Justin Fields. Put an offense around him. They already got, I mean, even though they let Devin Montgomery walk, they still have Herbert. I believe so.
Yep.
But bringing in DJ Moore, now you have somebody that brings something to take the cover off the top. You know, he's physical. He's not a Tyreek Hill, but he has speed. And like I said, the part I like is he's physical. Just make sure, obviously, when the situation with him catching the game-winning touchdown against the Saints, you know, get in his head, be a coach, you know, keep him where he understands the situation, so he's not doing stuff like that to help the team lose that game. But outside of that, that's a dime pickup. That's a great pickup for that offense and that team.
The Bears right now, you got to look at the Bears and just go, you know, and there's all these talking heads that get on TV, and they're just, you know, we have to celebrate quarterbacks, which I get, but like,
no, we don't.
Oh yeah,
no.
Justin Fields, you know, should we keep him? Should we trade him and get a new? Should we get Bryce? Like, are you crazy? Has anybody actually watched Justin Fields play? He's like because he wasn't an electric passer his first season, and
that's
what
it is.
Some of these people on TV, like, you could tell why they're working on TV and they're not in buildings anymore. Like, it's absolutely absurd how they talk about some of these players just to get some clicks. But the Bears have gotten better, and this draft is going to be a absolute haul this year, next year, the year following. The Vikings bring in, here's the biggest move for me. Brian Flores is now the D coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings.
That's awesome.
That is a problem.
Yes.
That dude is legit, man.
Yeah.
That guy, there's a handful of guys that are really good coaches. He's one of them.
Yeah, he learned very well from Bill Belichick. Learned very well.
They got rid of Eric Kendrick, Adam Thielen.
Yep.
They got rid of Cam
He's a
Dantzler,
Panther.
Dalvin Tomlinson, who played great against us twice, left in free agency. They brought in Mean Dean Lowry.
Yep.
Brian Murphy from Arizona, the cornerback. Marcus Davenport, they brought in, the edge rusher. Josh Oliver, the tight end. So they're not making some huge moves. I would say net, they're probably worse off than they were from a personnel standpoint, losing Eric Kendricks, losing Dalvin Tomlinson, losing Adam Thielen. But they bring in a D coordinator that is really going to change the game as far as how they approach that side of the ball.
Yeah.
They still have Justin Jefferson. They restructured Kirk Cousins' contract. They have an offensive line. They have last year was the first year of their offensive line coach. He improved their game. They have guys on that side of the ball that can do some things. They re-signed Garrett Bradbury. So all of these teams are at least churning, making things happen, restructuring their coaching staffs, except for one. Except you know what I mean? And you don't win Super Bowls in March, but you got to put some pieces in place, because if we're started out the offseason, AG, talking about how the Packers are 2 or 3 with Aaron Rodgers, 2 or 3 impact players away from winning a Super Bowl or competing to win the NFC Championship, what do we think now?
It's I said this to myself over the weekend: rebuilding time. This is officially rebuilding time. There's no other way to cut it or say it. It is that, because Jordan has the talent, but it's always that rough stretch for a first-year quarterback. Even when a first-year quarterback, other than Dante, I believe the only one that pops in my head fresh is Dante Culpepper coming off the bench.
Boy, he was something different, wasn't he?
My goodness, but he had Randy Moss and he had Carter.
Well, there's been guys like Justin Herbert came off the bench when Tyrod Taylor got stabbed in the lung. So
I can say those 2 quarterbacks now in the recent history.
But to your point, like Jordan, it's like I was on a show over the weekend, and the only thing that I could come up with was they were asking me about this, obviously, and I said when Brett was there, and I had already left. I think you might have still been there for another year, but when Brett was there and Aaron showed up,
Yeah, 05.
Everybody was talking about, like, I would call Tauscher, and they'd be like, dude, this guy can sling it. Like, this kid in practice is doing things, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was a
yeah.
buzz around the locker room about how good Aaron Rodgers was going to be. And I'm not saying that that's required, and I'm not saying that anything to do with Jordan Love. I'm just saying nobody's saying that about Jordan Love. This year is the first time where Aaron Jones came out on a TV show and was like, you know what? He's practicing. Like, he looks better. He's a different guy. But that buzz just wasn't there. And that's kind of what you're hoping for. If you're getting rid of one Hall of Famer, you're hoping that the other one's just walking in like Aaron Rodgers did. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. They certainly can't plan for that.
Yeah, and it's you're talking about two different people, in terms of Aaron and Jordan Love, built differently mentally, physically, and then obviously different paths to the pro level. Even though they were both first round picks, we saw how Aaron's journey started. He was supposed to be high first round. What happened? He slipped to the 24th pick. And I'm a candidate of dropping, and then that chip growing on my shoulder, be like, I'm about to show everybody why I should have went number 1 or higher than the 3rd round pick where I went, or Aaron saying being the 24th pick. I'm about to show people when I get my opportunity. And that's the difference between him and Jordan right now. So
the difference for me is, well, I guess let's look at it. Let's do this. We don't know. I mean, we've seen stuff, right?
Yeah, limited stuff.
We can always.
This year was better.
I've had guys send me tape, and they're like, "Dude, I broke down his 6 plays. I mean, I can tell definitively he's going to be this." And I'm like, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
Because you're talking about processing, footwork, arm strength, et cetera, et cetera.
Dealing with pressure, dealing with mistakes, dealing with
being the leader, being the face of a franchise like this, having to nobody's even talking about this. Dude, you got to follow 30 years of Hall of Fame play. You know how hard that is?
Yeah.
30 years of Hall of Fame quarterback play.
But what you do with that is he would have to, because similar situation, little, for the running back point of view. I'm coming in Nebraska my freshman year. And right after training camp, they said, we don't want to search you. Want say that you're coming to the varsity locker room. You'll be 4th on the depth chart, though. I'm like, great. That's what I wanted. That was my goals. I did that. But here you go. You want to wear number 30. And at that time, the only last person before number 30 before me was Mike Rozier, who won the Heisman. So was I a little nervous and a little shook at the beginning when I first heard that request from Coach Solich? Yes, I was. Went home that night to my dorm room, called my older brother. He said, what's up? I said, hey, they want me to wear number 30. And he's like, what's the problem? And he's like, okay, cool. He's like, what's the problem? I'm like, Mike Rozier wore that. He's like, bro, you put on your own shoes. You make your own. You make that number yours. And so that simple statement right there just told me, yeah, I know what Mike Rozier did, but now I'm wearing the jersey. Nothing against him, no disrespect, but I make my own path now. And that's what Jordan, that's the mental he has to come through. Walking in that locker room now, he has to have that mental mindset. Well, this is my team now, and I got to do this for me. Understanding what was in the past, respecting that, but then got to come out here and get myself ready, because this team is dependent on me and not the last 30 years of quarterbacks that were here already. Basically.
You think Jordan Love should change your number 12 is what you're saying? That's what I'm hearing.
No, I didn't. That would be crazy if he did.
Yeah, that would be. Hey,
that would be wild.
Honest, now that I just said that out loud, that would be the most baller move he could do. It'd be like, I think I'll take number 12. Thanks. Thanks for holding my place for a while.
Yeah, that would be wild.
The same thing happened to me, AG, when I got drafted. They're like, hey, what number do you want? I was like, I was 66 in college. I was like, I'll take 66. They're like, yeah, okay. And so I showed up and I was 68. And I'm like, why am I 68? They're like, Ray Nitschke's 66. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was not aware.
Right.
So,
that's okay. Yeah.
So the Packers, here's what the Packers have right now. And to put it in context, this is why they probably want the first round pick from the Jets at 13. Because they have the 15th overall. They have round 2, the 45th overall, the 78th. They've got 1 in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 2 in the 5th, a compensatory pick. And then they have 2 in the 7th, the second one being from the LA Rams. So if they got the 2023 first round pick, which I don't think they're going to get, I don't think anybody really believes that. I think they just want to have a conversation about it. But if they did get it, all of a sudden you can leapfrog into the top 10 with a 13th and a 15th. Or you could trade them both if you wanted to. Not that that's what they
Yeah.
want to do, or you could trade them back and get more picks.
Yeah.
Here's like the philosophy thing, and this is kind of where I wanted to pick your brain today.
Okay.
I believed that this team was X amount of players away, splash players.
Yes.
Okay. We're not picking them up in free agency. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be a first round pick to be successful in this league, or but what I would say, if you actually value your job as a personnel person, then your ability to draft in the high first, high second round should bring you a Pro Bowl level player, which we desperately needed a handful of positions, and there are a handful at those positions in the draft. What do you think the Green Bay Packers will do? Let's just say with they got the 15th, the 45th. I'm not going to suggest they get let's say they get the 15th, the 45th, and the 50th. They get that from the Jets or whatever the number is.
Correct.
What do you think they're staring down the barrel of right now from a need standpoint, given the fact that they refuse to pick anybody up in free agency?
Need standpoint, offensive line, D-line area. They need guys there because guys might walk. David might decide to not be here. Bakatari.
You think Bakhtiari will leave?
No, just because he's buddy with Aaron, and
maybe.
He's made decisions off of Aaron's decisions as well as some players, as other players have done that. Back end players, defensive backs, and then because of wide receivers, it's okay. You have young guys there that are developing. You got Christian and the kid from Nevada, Dobbs. You got Romeo. Run game is good. You got AJ and Aaron Jones. AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones, you're solid there. But so just solidify offensive line because of no big free agent splashes out there. And then obviously maybe a later round quarterback pick just to have inventory, on there.
I'll defer to you. I have tight end as a huge position of need. I have safety as a huge position of need. I have edge rusher.
So we agree on that.
Rusher, because we don't know when Rashawn Gary's going to get back and what that's going to.
I say I consider D line edge rusher all the same.
Yeah. I'll be really interested to see what Wyatt does this year.
Yes,
they just took Meandy and Lowry's not there anymore. They'll bring in somebody else. Does Jaron Reed stay? Does he resign?
Yeah, he did.
We don't know, but
I think he did. He restructured.
Did he restructure? Okay,
yeah.
But Wyatt being a first round pick, being the type of athlete he is, some of the deficiencies he had last year, can we coach through those? He could be a real impact player on this team. He could be that pass rushing 3 technique that we honestly desperately need to complement Kenny. And that can maybe take some pressure off the rest of the guys as far as on the edge, because you can get some more pocket pressure. And so guys like Edgar Barry are going to be much better when you have pocket pressure up the middle, because that high side rush is going to be more effective. Without that, I think they need a 270-pound defensive end who can do it all. One of the things that got floated around was, Jermaine Johnson for the Jets. First round pick last year out of Florida State, the guy that I think you and I talked about actually getting drafted here, hoping that he would get drafted here. A little bit stiff, I think, but he's kind of what we're talking about. 275, 280-pound guy, can play all 3-4 downs, can play in any kind of defense you need him to play in, and can rush the passer with powers. Is something that he can collapse pockets. So there's something where you go, okay, well, that might make sense. There's options out there on the table. Just again, to think that you're going to need a first round pick. Maybe they do, and I'm wrong, but it just seems like a lot.
Yeah, they're hoping for a lot. They're hoping. You shouldn't be hoping. You got to know in this point.
So let's switch to the rest of the league, man. There's a couple of things that just happened recently we want to talk about. So one of the big things in the news right now is Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
And Lamar is. The other thing that happened is Laramie Tunsil, one of my guys, got paid over the weekend. He got re-signed by the Houston Texans. So Laramie is, has quote unquote, does not have representation, right? He's his own agent. And when he got traded, he reset the tackle market for a 3-year deal. And then now he just signed for another 3-year deal and reset the tackle market again. And it's somewhere around 3 years, $75 million.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's resetting so as far as business goes, right, he is leading by example.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to kind of, for fans out there who don't quite understand how this works, because everyone's out there on Twitter going, well, he doesn't have an agent. He has though is he has a management group, right, that handles a lot of business for him, including people that are familiar with NFL contracts.
Yeah.
And what I hear about, and I don't know the story with Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson, I think his mom represents him.
And he also does too.
Right? So he doesn't have his own agent, but he's represented by, and that's what happened. Like Lionel Messi's father represents him. Okay, so this isn't like you can do it all different ways, and everybody can have success. What is interesting to me, if you look at the kind of the two sides or the traditional thought versus what's happening over, at least with LT keeps signing 3-year deals. And I remember very specifically when I was kind of going up for contracts, my agent was always like, listen, bottom line, you only want a 3-year deal because the market moves so substantially because of the salary cap. Oh, you can be the highest paid guy in 1 year. The next year, you won't be the highest paid guy. The year after that, there's going to be 4 guys that are paid your much. And the 5th year or the 3rd year, you're going to be underpaid. So you want to be able to reset over and over. And you can see the way that guys like LT, guys like Roquan Smith, the guys that are working with this management group are doing business is they're resetting. They're going to have an opportunity to reset the market multiple times. Which is beautiful. But the difference is agents, they want to look at guaranteed money. They want to look at years and all. What they don't understand, it's like looking at the Pat Mahomes deal. Pat Mahomes deal was like $50 million a year, something. But the Pat Mahomes deal will be good for a handful of years, but it's like a 10-year deal, right?
It is.
So it's like, so for the back half of that deal, whether it happens or not, that's not going to be a good deal anymore. We're already getting to the point where people are going to be paid as much as he is, and his contract's not even half over. So when Lamar, it's interesting to me because when Lamar Jackson, who I think was my pick for MVP last year. Like, I think there's nobody on the planet that doesn't like this guy, doesn't like what you bring to a football team.
Correct.
But when you ask for, like, I got to be the highest paid, I've got this kind of guaranteed money, and you start spreading over time instead of just going, like, I think he's 25 years old.
25, 26, somewhere around there.
Okay, 25, 26 years old. What if he just signed a 3-year deal for $150 million guaranteed? You know what I mean? And just said, I'm going to come back at you. Right? In 3 years from now, when I'm 29 or 28 years old with $150 million in the bank.
26.
Okay.
26.
So he'll be 29 after 3 years. He'll be sub 30, being able to go into his 3rd contract after just making $150 million on his last one. And the market, because we know the salary cap's going up, the salary cap will probably be $50-60 million more than it is right now.
Yeah, because that's what Carr got. He got $150 million, 100 guaranteed for 4 years.
For 4 years.
For 4 years.
But Lamar Jackson's worth that at least for 3 years. Okay.
Exactly.
You take that same deal.
Well more than that.
Yeah. Yes. You take that same deal.
Daniel Jones got the same thing pretty much.
I'll just scrape a year off that because I'm that much better than Carr and that much better than Jones. You give me 3 years, $150 million, and let's see where we're at in 29. And I'm sure a lot of teams are going to be like, well, wait a second, we want to lock you up for more because you're the quarterback. It's like, well, we can do this 2 ways. You pay me exactly what I want for how long I want, or you pay me a 3-year deal and I move on, or I get another shot at this when I'm 29 years old.
Yeah.
But that philosophy for me, AG, has always made a ton of sense. And I just don't understand because agents are always like, oh man, we got you the most guaranteed money. We got dude, you have an 8-year deal. Like your deal's only good for 3 years. You got an 8-year deal. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Cause like you say, you'll be underpaid by the end. Looking at Pat Mahomes' contract from this coming season, which would be the lowest, which is 39.6 of the next, basically to 2031. So he's going to be making in a range from 3.6 million up to 52.4 million. That'll be the range in the next, 8 years? It's 23. Yeah, next 8 years.
So, and obviously they're going to, like, you can extend so many.
Yeah, he's going to get extended.
But they're basically saying you're our guy, right? But the thing that's odd about the Lamar Jackson deal, in part because he doesn't have an agent, so this stuff's, it's not handled the same way as far as what gets leaked and what doesn't get leaked and what's speculated, what's not speculated. But just the idea, and because he is his style of play and everything, I can sit here excuse. Well, it's not an excuse, but you can see from I could see from a team standpoint.
Yeah.
If they went and said, if Lamar said, well, I want Patrick Mahomes deal, they'd be like, well, what are you going to look like in 8 years, given the fact that we've built this whole offense for you to be a running back? You know, and if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'd be like, well, then change the offense, bro, because I can run anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
I get both. I'm 100% on his side.
Yeah.
You just get where it's going. But I could very easily see Lamar Jackson going, you know what? I'm just going to go, because I think they offered him 3 years, 133 million. He's like, and I need an agent for what? Right? 3 years,
Correct.
133. Like, dude, jack that up to 3 years, 150 million. Like if they offered him 3 years, 150 million, he's saying no. Then all of a sudden, like, I think guys like me will go, well, wait a second. I don't understand what you're going for then.
Yeah, I think he turned down.
For me.
You're right. He turned down during the season. I believe it was somewhere in the neighborhood of over 200 million. It was Lamar. It was not Lamar. It was Patrick, or what's his name? Deshaun Watson level.
Well, the problem is they won't give him the Deshaun Watson contract.
Right.
That's the whole.
I think they got close to it, and he declined it.
Yeah.
So
this is the thing, though. Do you go? I mean, like when we were playing, what the goal was, get a front-loaded contract, right?
Yeah.
Play well.
Yep.
Force them to give you roster bonuses at the beginning of the year so they can prorate your money back. Yep. And you knew after 3 years, the accumulated value of your cap number from prorating those contracts back would be so high that they had to re-up you.
Yeah.
That was
because the cap number is going to be too high.
Yeah. So that was the goal. So if you can do that now in a manner where they're going to actually just guarantee the money for 3 seasons, we'll take the $50 million a year hit.
Yeah.
Man, because now that it's so clean for you.
It is. It's similar to Kirk Cousins and his situation. Basically, you're describing that. That's when he hit the market when he first left Washington. Before he got to Minnesota, 86 million and some change, and then a couple of years later, they just extended him like last year or something like that. So same process, same idea.
Well, Kirk was doing single year because he got franchised. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was like. So I think this is the difference that we're talking about, though, at least from my perspective. Like Lamar Jackson obviously doesn't want to be franchised. Like he didn't want to get tagged. He wanted to get a deal done because that's 1 year. And that's why to you and me and everybody else, that's a ton of money for a guy that is going to be worth, $300, $400, $500 million that when everything's said and done. He's looking at this like, dude, this is a tenth of what I'm going to make in my lifetime. I don't want it. Right. I don't want to risk the rest of my life for this.
Correct.
But there's got to be I guess my point is there's got to be a number. Is it 3 years? Is it 4 years where you're like, I'm satisfied with the dollar amount now over that amount of time.
Yeah. And
I feel confident that I'm going to play at a level where the market's going to go up so much that there's going to be 10 quarterbacks making 50 million. I'm going to be 29 years old. I'm going to be worth, if they're worth 50, I'm worth 65, 70.
Right.
Or whatever it is, right? Pick a number. And now I can go back and go, you know what? I'll do another 3-year deal.
I'll take the 3 years.
For $210 million. And I'll go 6 years, $360 million. So, like all of a sudden it sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
It sounds real good. 3 years sounds real good. And re-upping. I like it.
I mean,
it makes sense. It totally makes sense.
And this is where you think, if you think from a team standpoint, if we want to get to guaranteed contracts, obviously the language is going to change. The years are going to change on the contracts. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to give a 7-year and 8-year guaranteed contract in football. Like I know, like the Cleveland Browns are the Cleveland Browns, but nobody else is going to do that.
No.
And whether or not this is collusion with Lamar Jackson, I'm sure that's probably true.
Most likely. Yeah.
Right. Most likely true. But like whether it is or not, like the truth is in this sport, with the amount of injuries that you have, it's going to be really tough to get that guaranteed money unless everybody's satisfied with going, you know what, I'll guarantee your first 3 years, but let's do it. Let me do a 10-year deal. First 3 years, we'll back the cap up. So after your 4th year, like this is what we did with mine. Like you had to make a decision. Yeah. You had to pay me so much in cash on the first day of the league year and the 4th year. You had to release me. This is my second year, my second contract in Green Bay. And so you can start doing that where you basically guarantee your first 3 and you can just cut it off at 3. Or, dude, if you want to make it 7 years, fine. But then the roster bonus at year 4 is going to be a cash bonus of money you are not willing to pay.
Yeah, and that's what, like, I'm looking at Mahomes' contract. He has guaranteed money for the first 4 or for the next 4 or so starting last year. Uh-huh. So for the next 3 seasons, guaranteed money. And then he has roster bonuses ranging from 22 million or 13 million up to 49 million.
Okay.
Of roster bonuses.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, which is a lot. I'm just like, wow. I know.
But put it in context. If at 49 million, that's probably closer to 20-30, right?
Correct.
So think about it from the Chiefs' perspective. And Patrick Mahomes, look, he like owns half the soccer franchises there now. I mean, like he's not ever going to hurt for a meal, right?
Correct.
But look at it from the Chiefs' perspective. They locked the best player in the National Football League up for 10 seasons at what looked at the time to be a ridiculous amount of money, $49 million as a roster bonus for Patrick Mahomes in the year 2029. I don't know what number.
2027.
Okay, 2027.
Yep.
That is going to be something that they're probably more than willing to deal with, honestly, right?
Yeah. He takes care of himself. As you seen, he powers through injuries. He's the
best player in the league.
Right. I mean, when those little things happen, he's still able to make things happen with his body, even though he's hurt. The separated or dislocated kneecap that won the Super Bowl year where you thought he was done. He comes back from it and wins the Super Bowl. It's just he has that thing that he has this mental and it's that it factor about that. So
it's an interesting discussion, like with the contracts and everything. But I got one get off my lawn for you today because I went and saw Shazam. I went and saw Shazam, and I know you're a comic book fan.
I haven't. No, not yet. I've been hearing a lot of bad reviews on it though.
Okay. Here's what's happening, right? Because I've just my son, they were spring break and they were home, and so I started introducing them to old movies like Pulp Fiction and like these old these old murder mystery movies,
correct?
Movies that involve dialogue, right? There's no CGI,
real good dialogue.
You got to act. You're a Godfather. You got to act, right?
Yes.
And so now you go see this. It's like it's the most bubblegum. And it's not like it's not entertaining. Like the kids are funny in it, it's this and that. This special effects are cool, but it's such a. It feels like they could have written that script in an afternoon.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it's almost like let's tick the boxes of what we have to have in society right now to sell movies, right? Mm-hmm. And let's just tick, 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 tick. Job done. Send it out to roll and
wherever.
We'll see how much. We'll see how much money. Yeah, we'll see how much money we can make. It's just they're just force feeding us these superhero movies, and like when it was Iron Man, I was like, dude, remember how good Iron Man was?
Yes.
It was such a good movie. Yeah. This movie is not Iron Man 1, dude.
No, it's not.
Just not very good.
And I agree with it. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but Quantum Mania, was very average. And I feel the same way. I agree. They're rushing them because they already know this is what the consumer want, what comic book fans want. They want a movie out, but once the movie is not the quality of writing that it has been in the beginning till now, and same with Star Wars. You could say the same for Star Wars, where back in the day when we were young, we watched episode 4, 5, and 6, Return of the Jedi, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, all great movies. But now it's the hurry up and get this made so we can make that, because what's going to happen, and what happens, the fans just see the movie coming out, you're just going to go and not even question. No question. And that's what's going on. And then they're seeing, and there's somebody like us where we've seen movies from the to our childhood or teenage or college years that were classic, instant class. As soon as when I watched Pulp Fiction, me and my sister and and her son, one of my nephews, went to it wasn't even a dollar, it was like a local theater, like half off prices. Mm-hmm. And I saw that movie and I'm like, instant classic. And I was 15 years old and I'm like, this is a classic instantly right here. And because of the dialogue, the writing, the acting from the actors, and just
it's incredible.
It was beautiful. It was awesome. It was hilarious. It was dramatic, and it was like some weird stuff going on too, in that movie. But that's what made a lot of those actors. That's what I say put on another 10 years of John Travolta's career.
Oh, no doubt.
And Uma Thurman, people recognize who that was at that time.
She got Kill Bill after that, right?
Exactly.
Just went right on. Sam Jackson did every damn movie he's ever been in.
Right, and he's
Talenteer's ever done.
Exactly. He's been more famous for dropping the MF word because of those type of movies. And so, Disney, but it's remember Disney's behind that. They know what the money's about. They know how to.
I think Disney is ruined. I'll just be honest with you. I think Disney is ruining Marvel. Ruining.
Yeah.
They're just putting out too much.
Yeah, they had their climb, and now it's slowly.
There's just too much stuff coming out. It's just too much.
Yeah, because you got Disney, you got Mandalorian, and then you got what else?
Well, they had
Last of Us, and then Miss Marvel series, TV series,
She-Hulk. I mean, it was so bad. Yeah. It was just so bad. You know, I'm like, I'll watch it. I want to watch it. Like I wanted to go to the movies last night and enjoy it. And bro, it was just. I mean, my daughter just leaned over. She's like, "Is this over already?" I mean, it's just like get me out.
Yeah, when the kids are saying it, that's when you know it's bad.
Yeah,
that's when you know it's bad. When the kids.
But I did see Creed 3, bro.
Me too.
That movie was
that.
Legit. Dude, is it John? Is his name
Jonathan Majors? Yes, okay. Jonathan Majors.
That dude, like without getting all weird, the emotion that dude can put on his face.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
like you sitting there watching that movie and you feel pain when you see him early in the movie. Like you feel pain when you see him. Dude, it was
when he's talking about his time spent behind bars, and you out here making that money or making a life for yourself, you could just see it, and it's like, oh, I was like, something good is not coming out of this.
That was a movie where I could have sat in the theater. If you just would have started again, I wouldn't have moved. I just would have. You want me to watch it again? Okay, I'll watch it again.
And that's directed and wrote by Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan, that kid's not kid, but that man is.
Yeah, he was a kid. He was a kid in Hardball with Keanu Reeves? Oh, he was one of the baseball players.
Hey, man, he was on that 90% of it showing up, baby.
Yeah,
Keanu Reeves.
There it is.
That dude is going places, man. Because I'm telling you, that was an absolute.
Epic.
To step out of the Rocky thing, to not have Sylvester. I mean, all that.
Yeah, Sylvester. He had one little credit. That was about it.
The fight sequence. The way that they did the fight sequence, I'm sitting there going like, what are they doing? And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, like this is amazing.
Yeah, they took the crowd, like the one scene where they took the crowd out of it. And it was just them two.
You know what that was, right? He's an anime fan.
Oh yeah, they do that in anime. Yep.
Well, that's where it, and then you see the sweat and dude,
it goes slow motion. You see the punches come through the screen like that, man. And they're good. Dodging down and coming. Yak. Yeah.
It was so good.
It was good. I watched it when the week it came out a couple weeks ago. All right, man.
We good?
We good, man. I didn't have nothing. Well, you know what? I got one. I do got to get off our line for one of our old teammates.
What we got?
Mr. Gilbert Brown.
What's Gilbert doing?
Man, Gilbert doing not setting his clocks back for daylight saving time. He spent a whole week with his clocks wrong.
Really?
A
whole week?
A whole week.
You want to talk about a guy who's not going out of the house very often?
Oh, the only I say I give him the benefit of the doubt on this. So Michigan a couple weeks ago had Detroit had an ice storm that shut down all the power.
Oh, so guys.
So I give him that. So he came out of that and did not set his clock. That's the only doubt I'll give him.
But you just think about like functionally. So let's say that he doesn't ever turn on the TV.
He does.
The power's out, so he can't. Okay, but
right.
So maybe the power's out because if you turn on the TV, you would immediately know what the time is. You turn on the news, the time's on. Yep. You turn on 90% of the channels, the time's on.
ESPN.
You turn on your favorite show, like it's not starting at the time you think it is. Like I couldn't make it. I don't think I could make it 15 minutes in my house if the power was on without knowing what time it was.
Right. Cell phone too.
Yeah, I just looked at my phone and go, oh yeah, it's on your phone.
Exactly. Cell phones automatically do it. So yeah, we gave him the blues.
What kind of phone does he have?
He has a Samsung.
This is so many questions.
He has a Samsung. And he said it didn't set forward. That's what he said. I'm like, you need to get an Apple.
He might have does he live on like the line? Does he live like in Michigan? Does the timeline go through there?
I don't think so. I think Michigan, I think the timeline is actually in Indiana. So he's well beyond, he's in the Eastern time zone. Or whatever. It doesn't matter what time zone,
Right, but they're there definitively. It's not like half of his house is on one side or the other.
No, that's Indiana. Indiana's like that now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where the timeline is. Between Indiana and Indianapolis, the timeline for East Coast starts. So, because sometimes Indianapolis is on Midwest and sometimes they're not. So, yeah, we gave him a hard time.
I wanted to ask you about one more thing because I haven't had a Matt Rule update. Or is there anything going on there?
Spring ball starts today.
Okay.
Spring ball starts today. I went on the socials. I've been watching their socials because they've been doing a lot through that. They did like a whole month. So when he got here in January, you looked on those social on Instagram, Husker Football or Husker Football Nation on Instagram. You see them similar to like Deion when he's at Colorado they're doing workouts. They did a 0 degree. They did a Winter Olympics outside on the turf. All the snow. Yeah. They're doing all type of stuff, fighting with
don't
tug
put him
of
in
war.
the same category as Deion, though.
No, I'm just saying I'm just saying comparably, you can watch their socials and they're doing something every day. They're posting something.
I find that because I know a couple guys like UCLA. You find that now. There's these whole teams that go into the weight rooms and do all the. And I think it's smart. I mean, it's fun to watch
because that's where the high school kids are at. They're on social. They're on Instagram. They're on Snapchat. So I think that's obviously smart to do that. That's a recruiting tool. You see in your team, the players, the coaches, the head strength coaches talking about the program and how they work out and how they train and then Matt's on there explaining why they're doing the Winter Olympics out on the turf, to get the bonding and seeing the drive and building that camaraderie that builds a good team. So it's a recruiting tool. So that's tip of the hat. You should be doing that. You just got here. You gotta a lot of people in Nebraska is just, you're not going to turn them on to Matt Rhule until Matt Rhule does something, wins a lot of games, and Big Ten championship in 2 to 3 years. That's when everybody in Nebraska will be like, okay, this is our guy. That's what I know what's going to happen here. I know these guys. I know my fans here, how they are. So,
do you feel like there's any chance of that happening?
I'm always optimistic. I'm always.
You just said all you needed to say.
Yeah. All right. So, all right, Mike, tell everybody where they can find you.
Mike Wall 68 on Twitter.
All right. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Ahman Green 30, all one word, and Ahman Green's Gamers Lounge on Tick and Talk. Yes, all right. Sir. Hey, everyone, have a great rest of your week and see you next week. Peace.